Hi, this is Nathan. Welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod.
Oh, hi there. I'm Dylan James Weaver, but you can call me Dylan. We were just getting ready for a time of humor, analysis, and discovery. You care to join us? Because you never know what'll happen when you listen to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod.
Where were we?
I don't know. You're yelling about milk for some reason? I truly have no idea why. Oh, blessed charms. Yeah.
Blessed charms.
So... Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. I'm Dylan Weaver.
And I'm Andrew Sabo.
And we are here to talk about episode 267. It ended with a handshake.
Dun dun dun.
Oh yeah, so dramatic, right?
So dramatic. This episode full of stupid jokes.
How is that a stupid joke?
No.
It ended with a handshake. Well,
No. I don't think that's a stupid joke. I'm just saying that this episode itself is filled with stupid jokes.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, because we got Bernard and Holstein.
Sure.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah. No. But for sure. There's stupid jokes, man.
The jokesman.
Jokesman. It's an episode written and directed by Paul McCusker. Originally aired May 7th of 1994, which is not the month I was born, despite Andrew's belief. And
it's close though.
Is it, Andrew? Do you know that for sure?
Yes. I mean, relatively.
Unless
you're lying to me.
Well, isn't that a interesting concept?
Pause the podcast while I mug Dylan and take his wallet. It's the only form I would trust.
Well, I could just leave my wallet on a pew and then you could get it that way.
Hey, that only works for me.
So this is the first episode that we are listening to in the post-Hal Smith world.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the ones that was written while Hal Smith was still there, was set to be recorded with him, and then they had to fully rework it after his passing.
Yeah, that must have been so brutal.
Agreed. Also, I can't think of what they are, but I feel like we have talked about episodes before where they very clearly subbed in one character for another.
Yeah.
I think there's an episode where Wit
Novacom,
wasn't around, or was it Paul Hurlinger missed a flight or something, so Tom had to cover for him, or something crazy like that. We've done these sort of things in the past where it was or even ones where they reproduced the same episode a second time, and just swap around characters.
Mm-hmm.
This one feels wholly different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is extremely obvious that they worked their butts off to make this episode work without Wit.
Yeah.
Because you don't feel his absence in the episode.
No, not at all. They say it repeatedly that he's out for the day.
Yeah, he's running errands.
Yeah, which is fine, and you believe him, and it's like the show to make those nods when Hal Smith was alive. So
right, it's the kind of thing you do when it's okay, we like Hal, but he's just we're not getting him in on this episode for whatever reason. We've got too many other people, we can't afford him.
We've got to get his name in every episode, so we gotta drop it.
Right. And honestly, that might be more of a product of post Hal Smith Wit than Hal Smith. I feel like during the Hal Smith era, Wit is a very present figure.
Mm-hmm.
And even once they bring in Hurlinger and later with Stoker, he is not the show doesn't quite revolve around him in the same way it did in these early days.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so it maybe doesn't feel as like maybe that softens the blow here a bit. Yeah. But I also think it's a lot to the credit of McCusker, who is the credited writer on this episode, and also probably the whole team that had a large amount of involvement in this. Yeah. Because it is a really tough needle to thread, and I think it's done very elegantly.
Yeah. Well, especially probably considering the time constraints and everything going on.
Like, he passed away at the end of January, and this episode is hitting the radio in May.
Wow.
So that is not a lot of time to do. And I don't know what time it normally takes to break a story. But, like, that is a lot of that's not that much time to do a, kind of bottom-up rewrite of this episode.
Oh, yeah. Well, and doing it while the questions of what are we going to do with Wit hang over everything. Like, McCusker, Lawler, like, all of them in this situation, because they weren't prepared for Housemith's departure, they they kind of had to confront, like, the mortality of the show, and to a certain extent, and really reevaluate kind of how they wanted it to function moving forward. And I agree. It's truly a testament to their familiarity with the characters and the world that they created that you can even get an episode like this considering the circumstances.
Right. And it's one of those things where, this episode works so well. Mm-hmm. And the official guide kind of, for all of these, like, episodes that were in the can that then they had to, or that the scripts were locked, that they then had to rewrite around Wit, they kind of note, hey, this was who replaced him. And this episode is credited with Bernard and Connie as the Wit stand-ins. But there aren't any scenes where you could take one of them out and put Wit in and have it make sense.
Yeah, no.
So it is, like, the level to which this was rewritten is substantial.
Yeah.
Because aside from maybe, like, when Holstein first walks into Wit's End, but even that, it's not a one-for-one.
No.
Which is the other thing. This is our first episode with Fred Holstein.
Aha! Yeah, this is the first
we've covered episodes with Fred before. Yes, but this is because he's famously a big part of The Perfect Witness. But this is the first time he is being introduced on the show, and what a joy this man is.
The accent at an 11, like, my guy is going so hard.
The
way that he says, like, Viteker,
yes,
so funny. Man.
Yep. Kenneth Mars doing the voice is just great. I like this character. I like that I find it really interesting that he's introduced at this point, but that he's not in any way taking overweight that Wit carried.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But it is one of those things where I'm like, was Holstein in this episode before? Like, before the rewrite. Was there reason for Katrina to work somewhere other than Wit's End before this episode?
I don't know. And honestly...
there's so much stuff that's left in a weird place, because the last episode truly feels like part one.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's not, it's doing so much setup.
Yeah.
And the idea of Katrina working at Wit's End, the idea of, like, Katrina on this journey to become a Christian. And, like, this episode does an interesting thing where we start and we establish that Katrina became a Christian basically off screen.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't actually get, like, the, like, classic conversion moment that we get for so many other characters. And I have to I have to imagine that was not the original plan.
Yeah, I bet there was probably going to be a whole big thing with Whit being involved, and so the fact that Connie was up in Whit's office away from the action for most of the time, I feel like, yeah, that loosely
right. There's a lot of interesting stuff here where I'm like, I don't know what it like. I would be very curious to see the first draft of this script.
Oh, so curious.
Because the trajectory of characters that are set up from this episode feels like that might have all changed as a result of Hal Smith's death.
Yeah, I honestly, when you bring it up and the fact that they introduce Holstein here, and Holstein becomes like a very fabled kind of character within the show. Like Holstein's books, I believe, gets passed on to somebody else.
Yes, later in New Odyssey, there's a different Holstein who owns it.
Yeah, it's like a Holstein brother. Yeah.
Because we covered an episode that he shows up in.
Yeah,
I think he's maybe in one of the Maury episodes.
Yeah.
Or maybe a Green Ring episode, but regardless, there is another Holstein.
Yeah, no, I am so curious about that. I mean, because he's a new character, and I do feel like there was some foreknowledge that Katrina wasn't going to continue working at Wits End long term.
Right. Like, the previous episode does set it up. I mean, like with Eugene coming to Wit and being like, I don't want her. Like, it's my worlds colliding, and Wit being very receptive to that.
Yeah.
Does kind of lead you to go, okay, so maybe introducing another place for her to work was always the plan. But we'll never know.
Well, yeah, and Wit's mad connected like that, so
for sure.
We'll get into it because I have feelings about Wit just hiring off Katrina without talking to her.
Interesting. Well, yeah, at this point we are way too into the weeds of this discussion for the pre-promo portion, so I'm just gonna roll the promo and then we can basically pick up where we are right now.
Sounds good.
It's love in denial on the next Adventure in Odyssey. Eugene fears the worst when his friend Katrina becomes a Christian. But when Eugene attempts to deny his true feelings, his computer disk full of unsent poems and love letters accidentally falls into the wrong hands. Can love survive? Don't miss the chaos next time on Adventures in Odyssey.
Denial is a river in Egypt. You are in love. Thank you. I stole it from TikTok. Oh my goodness. Yeah, wow, quite the promo. And that, again, must have been interesting. Like, I don't know where the promos are made in the span of, like, the show. Like, are they made after the script, or are they developed?
They have to be.
Yeah, well, for sure.
The promo's for sure made after, like, the episode's already, like, locked.
Okay.
Like, they've recorded the whole thing. They've produced it. Then they get the promo. Because it doesn't have to go... Like, the promo doesn't have to be made until literally the night before it airs on the radio. Or whatever, the week before. Yeah. Like, you need it to set up in the week prior, and then...
But never before and never after, so that makes sense. Yeah. So this episode begins with Eugene narrating to himself while he's writing on his laptop vigorously. He's talking about ridding himself of his feelings for Katrina, and that they just have to be friends moving forward. There's no way that they can be anything else. And clearly going through it. The guy is typing furiously, and I would just like to say again, for the sake of the Chalk Pod and the Chalk Squad, that Will Ryan is the best thing about Adventures in Odyssey.
Yeah.
Like,
yep. There's a lot of other aspects I love. Shout out to Katie Lee, but Will Ryan is undeniable.
So good. And he's great in this episode, and I would say especially in this era of the show where they give him a bit more well-rounded character where he has like romantic interests.
He's not a caricature in the way that he is.
Yeah,
for
that
the
he was
early years.
a brother and a genius and a know-it-all. Whereas now he's anxious and he gets all these more complicated feelings, and I feel like the character blossoms with that. And this is a really great Eugene episode, despite it not going very well for Eugene.
yeah, it's interesting. We talked about like the weird compressed timeline here. I initially wrote in my notes because the way Eugene is waxing poetic, I thought that this was going to be I am writing from the future recounting things kind of episode.
Yes. An Aubrey's journal type situation.
Yeah, because we have like, what is the nail in the coffin for Eugene at this point? Why is he calling it quits on Katrina at the start of this episode?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, because she's becoming a Christian. He doesn't
know that she has yet.
Yeah.
He hasn't, but he's like talking as though he's like expressed some feelings that have not been reciprocated. And I'm like, literally no. Like, this episode, I think, is set like 2 hours after the last one.
No, for sure. Well, and
like
it's very much of the same ilk. Like,
it's right. It's set up as though like Katrina has been upstairs talking with Connie since the last episode until this one.
Well, yeah, because Connie comes in on Eugene while he's writing and says like, "Oh, I wasn't up there that long," and Eugene says 2 hours and 37 minutes.
Not 10.
Not 10.
No, not 10.
Oh, not 10. What's that?
Like, I believe what he's saying is that she was there for 2 hours and 27 minutes. Not 10 would be subtract 10 from that. Why did he say that? Because the writers need Eugene to sound
smart.
Yeah. But so she was up there for 2.5 hours, regardless. Yeah.
A heated fellowship, if you will.
But yeah, he during his wax poetic, he's like, I don't know what love is. But I need to remain friends with Katrina, like, through this, even though like our paths are diverging and all this stuff. And then Connie comes in and he's like, "So did she become a Christian?" And Connie was like, "Yep." And he was like, "Yeah, I figured as much." And so that seems to be the reason that he has resigned himself to singleness, which is interesting. I think it's interesting here that Eugene has this feeling that like, oh, if she's a Christian, that's the end for us. Because it seems like he's projecting that onto her, but it's not something that he specifically wants. And I'm not sure where that idea originates for him, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, because it's not what is portrayed by Katrina at all, because this seems very fast, and even at the end of the episode when they are confronted, like, obviously her response is significantly more flustered, where she feels like maybe this, she wasn't as resigned to the problem. But Eugene is somebody that is at least portrayed as kind of having shut down the faith element from more than an academic understanding. I could see him being scared of it, and also just knowing that like Whit would disapprove and Connie would disapprove, and like you're not supposed to.
Does he know that though?
No, he doesn't know that for sure.
That's kind of my thing is.
But I mean, I would assume if I was like, if I was in Eugene's shoes and I'd never heard Whit say that, I would still assume that he would frown upon it.
Interesting. Because that's where I'm like, I don't know. Is the concept of unequally yoked a thing that is understood outside of a very tight like Christian community? I can't imagine it is. So I find it interesting that Eugene doesn't seem to see her faith as a barrier but he thinks that she will make it a barrier. Like it's like it's interesting.
No,
it's not like
he probably sees.
But his response isn't, "Oh, she's a Christian now, that makes her less appealing to me."
No.
It's very much, she's a Christian now, so this can't work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but why don't you think it can work, Eugene? That's the point that I don't quite understand.
Yeah. No, and I do agree that if he's a secular person and he was, probably written by a secular person, he wouldn't necessarily react that way. But I do feel like there is that kind of subliminal talons of the morals of the show and everything that kind of pigeonholed him from making the wrong decision there, or not even necessarily the wrong decision, but the decision that they would frown upon.
Right. Right. Because, I would, and I'm sure it's going to come up as stuff progresses, because this is not like the end of their relationship.
By no means.
But I am curious as to what those conversations are going to look like between Connie and Katrina when she's like, okay, but I do want to date Eugene, and Katrina and Connie's like, yeah, but he's not a Christian, so you can't, or whatever. Like, that'll be interesting to come across when we get to it. Or is that something that's ever made explicit, or do we just resolve Eugene becoming a Christian without ever having Katrina deal with that conflict?
I don't remember explicitly.
We'll
talk
find
about
out as it comes. I don't need to project forward, but I do just think it's interesting that Eugene immediately jumps to this conclusion and shuts himself off as a result. And I'm not entirely sure why, like that his I don't feel like his motivations for doing so are fully fleshed out, although like I can hazard a guess and feel like I'm in the right ballpark.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I wish. Yeah, I don't know. It just,
well, there's
it
also
does feel, it's the whole point of the episode, but just like the degree to which he is in his own head and not actually communicating is what like kills this thing.
Oh no, for sure. Well, and
which is fully unrelatable to me.
Certainly. Dylan's never done that once. And Andrew has never done the exact opposite every damn day. I do think that it is interesting within the lens of the show that it isn't really talked about, because you think that there would be something that they would feel comfortable, and maybe...
And there's like the famously the
Jeff... thing.
Well, and there's famously like the Jeff Lewis episode, which is like Connie tries to date Jeff Lewis, but she's a new Christian, and he's not a Christian, and whatever. Eugene's not in that episode, so it's not like he's catching like direct runoff from that we can accredit to this moment. But like, it's not a topic that Focus is afraid to talk about within the show. It just doesn't get brought up today and is left a lot in implication. And maybe it is something that Whit would have had a conversation with Eugene about. Yeah. But there's no Whit.
Oh.
Anyways, so Eugene is, it seems to have at least enough of understanding that it's like, this is a barrier. Whether it is literally a barrier or he is just perceiving it as one, the fact that she is now a Christian is why he's like, oh man, this isn't going to work. And so he leaves Wits End to go help Bernard with the computer. And immediately after leaving, Fred Holstein arrives. And man, this man, what a man. He is...
Well, aren't you a sight for the sore on my eye or something?
He is a sight that makes my eyes sore.
Yeah. And my ears sometimes. There's so many jokes. I mean, it's good. Like they all kind of hit, and the whole bit is that, he's new and he doesn't fully understand the colloquialism, so he says like, what is it? It's right on the, instead of right on the nose, he says it's like right on the chin or something.
Sure,
like that.
sure,
Yeah.
right. I mean, that's just right. That's his whole thing is he's not great at the English, and so
But he loves the German.
right. This is
You are so beautiful. You can't be anything other than German.
yes.
Woof.
Are you Katarina Shanks? No, I'm Connie Kendall. Kendall, is that German? No, I don't think so. Like, it's just, yeah. Holstein is so
nationalist.
fun, and he explains that he was looking for an assistant to work at the store, and that Whit suggested Katrina, and so Connie's like, well, she's upstairs, go meet her, and he walks in. Katrina is going through Whit's books, which is great. And then Holstein's like, look, can you come back over to my shop? I want to like talk to you about this, but like, I think I would very much like to hire you. Katrina's ecstatic. I like how much she is happy about this. She does, however, take it maybe a bridge too far, and asks Connie to give Mr. Whittaker a big kiss for her. Which then, to be fair, does have Holstein be like, can you do that for me too? Never mind. I'll do it myself.
So good. I want to see Holstein give Whit a fat smooch. That would be so delightful.
Yeah, send us that fan art. wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com.
Whit kissing a Nazi. Holstein's not a Nazi.
No, he's not.
He just loves Germany.
yeah, in that like, 90s way.
Not in that 40s way.
Yeah, but yeah, it is just, I am like, okay. Could we have any other way to express Katrina's gratitude? Like, I understand, we've got to express gratitude to a character who is absent from the show.
Well, and it's also unclear, given her response initially, whether she actually is happy about it or not.
She clearly is, though.
I mean, yeah, she's flustered and excited, I guess, but she says like, "Oh no, you shouldn't have." To which I wrote, "Yeah, no, he shouldn't have."
Interesting. Expand on this for me.
Well, I appreciate Whit sending Holstein Katrina's way, but I do feel like Whit should have talked to Katrina first. Not like if after she like Whit. We'll go through the hypothetical. Whit meets Holstein, just has this new employee. Holstein complains, says that he needs assistant. I've got a spare bookworm lying around. Let's make some music here, and then he should go back and then talk to Katrina, ask her if she's interested in that, and then go tell Holstein, hey, I talked to Katrina, she's interested, why don't you come by the shop?
Here's my headcanon, though. This is not text of the show, but
headcanon. I like headcanon.
I don't think Whit was like, hey, Holstein, I've got this employee who you should, I've got someone I recommend for you. Her name's Katrina, whatever. I don't think he was like, could you come over to my shop and grab her? I think that was all Holstein.
No, for
I
sure.
think that maybe Whit would have had a conversation, but instead he steps out and Holstein's like, I'm just doing this myself. I don't understand convention. I'm German.
We only understand production and invention. Oh man, I love that. That's great headcanon. I believe it. You've sold me.
Yeah. So yeah, Holstein does, and it is right. It is Whit inserting himself into, whatever. But
Katrina's happy with it.
Right.
If Katrina was upset, then obviously it would have been one thing. But
but it does seem like it's the match made in heaven.
Yeah, it's a bookstore.
Right.
She
was
loves
previously
books.
working in a library. Now she's working at a bookstore. Wits End was not a good place for her for a myriad of reasons, but she was employed there for maybe
48 hours.
Not even, because I think last episode took place all in a day, and so does this one. In that same day? So, regardless,
she got the employee discount on Christianity.
Right, that's exactly. She was there long enough to be saved, and then it was like, well,
ship her off.
We've taken care of that. Let's go send her over to the German.
Oh, those Catholics need the Lord.
Mm-hmm. Go put him on the put her on the front line. But yeah, regardless, her telling Connie to give Whit a big kiss is rough, including the fact that she specifically says Mr. Whittaker.
Yeah.
After he told her to say Whit.
Yeah.
Somehow makes it worse.
A big kiss. Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a cute old man, I guess, but
yeah,
I don't want to think about
just the idea in general of like maybe it was more acceptable in the 90s, but I don't feel like, I don't know. The kiss of gratitude just doesn't seem like an American thing.
No, it's not. No.
It's not anything I've witnessed. It's not anything that, I've doled out.
Yeah.
It does just
it's a European thing.
Which is what works for the Holstein joke of it all.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that they're willing to make the Holstein joke, because I don't think a 2023 Odyssey would make that joke.
No way. No,
I think it's a perfectly good joke. Mm-hmm. I just don't think that it would continue to be made today.
And that's why I love it. So we cut to then Eugene and Bernard working on his computer.
Eugene is clacking away furiously.
Yeah. This is where we find out that Bernard spilled mayo on his computer. And
so gross.
And
I do not like mayo.
Freak out, which, yeah, fair. Mayonnaise on a computer sounds like a nightmare. I've gotten ramen broth, not like extensive amounts, just like little drops that come off the noodles while you slurp.
Sure.
All in the keyboard. Never had a problem.
I spilled a hot alcoholic beverage on the laptop we used to record on while we were recording a bonus show, and that laptop is dead.
It died immediately.
That was it. I spilled it. I did not wipe it up quickly enough. You
wiped it up plenty quick though.
It was gone.
Yeah. Done.
That was that. So don't spill hot alcohol onto your MacBooks.
Cold alcohol goes much better.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what it was that was
fried.
It was so fast.
Yeah.
That's the only time I've ever had an a proper electronic device die because of water. I've never killed a phone or a tablet or another computer. That's my one.
iPod touches. iPod Nanos. I killed a lot of them in the washing machine.
A lot of them. Moneybags Andrew over here.
3 Nanos.
Oh my word.
Yeah, I just had to. Yeah, it was brutal. I got an iPod probably 3 out of 5 years during elementary school, just because the first time it was a shuffle, and then the second time it was a new one, and I had that one for a while and it was nice, and then that one I finally sent through the wash, and then I got another one cheaper, and that was when the touches were coming out, so it wasn't as bad. But yeah. Not good with leaving things in my pockets.
Yeah, look, just don't get mayo on your keyboard. It's gross.
Yeah, definitely.
Mayo is gross everywhere, even more so on your keyboard.
It's mediocre sandwich lube at best.
But we go on to Eugene suggests that Bernard treat the computer like you would a woman. And they do this whole back and forth where Eugene's just getting more and more worked up as Bernard continues to be befuddled. Because he doesn't classic.
Well, yeah, because Bernard doesn't know anything about Katrina, presumably. Obviously, it's developed pretty quickly, but still, I'm kind of surprised that he's completely oblivious to Katrina.
I mean, he hasn't been on any of the last 4 episodes we've covered.
So yeah, Eugene is furiously pounding this computer, and the Foley effects are insane because it sounds loud in the beginning, and it gets to a point where I'm just presuming he's hitting the computer with the keyboard.
Yeah. Excellent work. It's a well-produced scene.
And yeah.
Big shout-outs to Dave Arnold on that one.
So Eugene, long story short, doesn't end up finishing fixing his computer. So he gives Bernard his laptop, and he runs over to. Well,
he's got like a class he's got to get to.
Gotta go to the
So
college,
he gives Bernard the laptop. The laptop still has the floppy of the journal. I immediately wrote in my notes, "Oh, Bernard's gonna read the journal." Nope, I was wrong. Then,
oh, you forgot that Bernard doesn't know how to turn on the laptop.
Sure. It's not that hard. You act like I have no knowledge of computers. As soon as Eugene leaves, how do I turn this thing on?
Yeah, how do I turn this thing on?
Yeah. Then Katrina did manage to get the job at Holstein's, and yeah, when it she's relaying that to Connie, and she says, "Yeah, I'll be starting shortly. Wish me luck." And Connie's like, "Katrina, we don't believe in luck." I was like,
that's for the Irish.
My word. I cannot believe that we are doing that. So it's
such a 90s culture war thing, though. Yeah. Like such a there's no such thing as coincidence. There's no such thing as luck.
I had friends growing up who their grandparents, their boxes of Lucky Charms that they would keep on hand for the grandkids, piece of duct tape over Lucky with the word Sharpied on of blessed.
Blessed charms.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, what I wouldn't give
to
to just
know how, like, if the grandparents, because that's a funny joke if you're grandparents.
Yeah, no, it's a hilarious joke,
but I don't think that was intended as a joke. But
well, and if it was a repeat thing,
right,
like this wasn't this happened the one time, ha. This is my grandkids love Lucky Charms, but I think that luck is for the Irish.
Right, which doesn't solve the fact that, one, you still have the word charms there.
Yep.
Two, all the marshmallows are different luck things.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. If you're gonna have that problem, maybe just buy generic.
Yeah, different cereal. You'll be fine.
There are other marshmallow cereals. Also, Lucky Charms, pretty good, honestly.
It's up there, I will say.
I think that the non-marshmallow bits are quite good.
I love them. I used to hate them so much as a kid. Like, I used to think that Lucky Charms was only good for the marshmallows.
I like the crunch of the marshmallow.
Yeah, it's nice.
And, I have not had cereal in, I don't know, probably over a year. Like,
what?
Easily.
I was going to say it's been a while for me, and it's been like 2 days.
No, it has been so long since I have had cereal.
Don't you eat? Oh, you don't eat breakfast?
I don't eat breakfast. And when I lived with my parents, there was like cereal around.
But it wasn't cereal you liked.
No. And so I would sometimes have cereal. Mm-hmm. I don't keep cereal around because I don't keep milk around because milk goes bad faster than I can consume it.
You just need to like cook with it a lot. I buy a small gallon of milk and I cook with it.
A small gallon?
Or a half gallon, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
I have occasionally bought a quart of milk if I need it for a recipe, and then the remainder of it winds up getting dumped because I can't. Like, because what is I would have to be making something I would have to be making multiple things a week, which I don't. I make one dish and it lasts the whole week.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so the perks of cooking for one.
Yeah.
It sucks. Don't do it if you can avoid it, Chalk Squad. Find yourself a Katrina so you don't have this problem.
No, I don't think that it's a problem. It's incredibly efficient, and I guess that makes a lot of sense because I do use it. I use it in cooking a bit, and then but I normally use almond milk in my cereal because my stomach doesn't do great with just straight milk. Yeah. But, cookies, and oh man.
How often are you making cookies?
Like every 2 weeks.
Andrew, why have I never had one of your cookies?
They're not good. I mean, they're fine. I
refuse to believe.
I'm not. They're nothing. They're nothing special.
They're cookies.
Sometimes it's just box mix.
They're made by you with love. That's are fair. Cookies.
That's fair.
So yeah, and then Bernard. So Katrina exits. Bernard comes in and is like, Eugene lent me his computer and it's of the devil. Which once again, I love that that's a line.
Yeah.
Like. Doesn't feel like we should be allowed to have that in Adventures in Odyssey, but it makes me happy.
No, it's hilarious.
Yeah. And Connie's like, well, look, I can work on it. I know a thing or two about computers, spending all this time around Whit and Eugene, which I love acknowledgement of Connie's competence.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it makes perfect sense that she would be able to at least read the prompt and vaguely understand what it meant. Non-system disk that was in the thing, preventing
in
it
the
from...
A drive,
In the A drive, preventing it from booting up. I don't know...
You want me to explain it to you, Andrew?
I don't know the A drive bit.
So an A drive is a floppy disk drive.
Okay.
So you know how your drives are lettered on your computer?
Yeah.
Have you ever wondered why your hard drive is C?
Yeah.
It's because hard drives were not invented when computers first were. So the first kind of drive you had on a computer was a large floppy, which was your A. And the second kind was the smaller floppy, which was the B. And then they invented hard drives, so that was C. And then disk drives, which became D. And then we stopped.
For now, I mean, disk drives are fantastic, so whatever we do after that's going to be great.
But that is the reason that on a Windows computer... your main directory where you save stuff is the C drive.
Interesting.
And so basically what it is saying is likely Eugene has because this is late enough that this would make sense, that he does have a hard drive of some sort that he's booting from. And because there is a disk in the computer was shut off, there's a disk in the A drive. The computer is going to try and boot from the A drive first.
Yeah. And
when it fails, it's not smart enough to fall over to the other drive. So you have to remove the disk so that it can boot normally, and then you can insert something into the A drive to be read.
That makes sense.
This is my job, guys.
No, I appreciate I'm so glad that you're on this podcast, because there's no way I would have figured that out.
Yeah, but it also doesn't matter.
Well,
you don't have
to me.
I think you could understand this episode perfectly fine without that knowledge.
Sure, but I don't know. Interest.
Yeah. But yeah, so
Bernard goes up to work in Whit's office.
Well, no, so Connie, but there's a great moment where Connie removes that disc. It's labeled Katrina, etc. And they have some back and forth where Bernard's like, I don't know Katrina, etc. And Connie's like, I do. And he's like, well, you want the disc? And she's like, yes, but I shouldn't. She goes back and forth, and she decides not to take the disc and instead leaves it with Bernard.
Yeah.
Which is
great Connie moment.
Yeah.
So good.
I love the conflict that they show here and that she overcomes it. It's really delightful.
Well, and then the callback later where Eugene brings it up and he's
in a heartbeat.
Yeah, you would have looked at that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, and so then Bernard's upstairs working on the computer in Whit's office, and because he's like, look, if I go and then I have another issue with this computer and I have to bring it back, it's going to be the end of me. Can I just work here? And kind of like, yeah, absolutely. Whit's office.
No, because he was supposed to leave it for Eugene at Whit's end.
Oh, okay.
So that was my understanding.
I was assuming that it was like, hey, if I have more technical difficulties, then but I guess either way.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Just got to be at Whit's end. I'm so sorry, Bernard.
Yeah. And so, yeah, Katrina then walks into the office looking for Whit. He's not there, but Bernard is. And while Bernard yells at his computer, she introduces herself as Katrina. He's like, oh, I've got a disc here for you, and kind of absentmindedly gives that to her.
Yeah, it's brutal, and you can hear because he also like interjects with
$35.
Yeah, like, oh, they owe me money. And yeah, it's funny and brutal because the joke lands so well despite it not being like really telegraphed that hard for it being a kid's show.
Sure.
So that was nice.
We know what's coming.
Yeah.
Because I would like to point out in my notes was like, oh, Connie is going to read the journals. And then she didn't. I was excited. And then I was like, oh. And then Katrina walked into the office and Bernard's there. I was like, he's going to give her the disc. And I was right. Third time's the charm.
There you go.
And then we cut to Eugene, who is sitting by himself, talking to himself, which is such a Eugene thing to do. And he is rambling on about
whether he should or should not.
Yeah, about Katrina and just how he's feeling conflicted there and all of this stuff. And
he wants to. This is the scene where he says he wants to call her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's like, but I shouldn't call her any more than I would call anyone else, because like that wouldn't make sense. Like I'm supposed to see her the same way I do all my other people, so I can't show her favorite. Look, the problem is I'm Eugene.
Yeah.
Like this is
I've been in that situation too. I've had that conversation with myself.
This is so rough. If you are one of the people listening to this show who happens to know me on a personal level and gets to hear me complain about these exact same things as Eugene and struggle in the same ways, I hope you're having a good time, I guess. This is I every episode we come into, I'm like, la da 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 da. Oh, there's the gut punch. Great. That's the parallel to my own life I needed. Fantastic. I really wanted to project these things upon myself. Love this.
Aggressive sighs. It's okay, buddy.
It's fine, you know?
But I do, and we can touch on it at the end if you want. Just the idea that Eugene, and he talks about it at the beginning, not necessarily knowing what he defines as love, like what is love, and the fact that like somebody, one, outside the church doesn't have people constantly telling him what love is and what love looks like, and then two, just like I feel like even me, I still had to create that definition for myself when I was in middle school, like not necessarily. Like I knew what I was told in church and everything, that like this is what love looks like, but how do you actually identify if that's what you're experiencing?
For sure. And yes, the idea that you're like that you can say confidently that you felt romantic love in middle school, I'm like, my word, Andrew, our lives are so different.
Oh, I was a horny ass kid.
Yeah, but that's
so horny.
Yeah. I'm just like I'm like I don't know if I could identify romantic love.
That's okay.
I know.
You'll know it when it hits you in the face. That's
what they say.
That's what happens.
I mean that's what everyone has told me my whole life. Hopefully it works for me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just different than everyone. Maybe the people saying that are the people who have that option available to them.
That's fair.
The great thing about that specific phrase of "you'll know it when you see it" is you can't be disproven.
Yeah. Oh. Well. It's that.
Like, terrible, but
it is, in fact, what it is.
So anyway, he's thinking about this, and then he's like, all right, let me write my notes out on this, and he's like, oh, okay, well, and he's like, oh, shoot, Bernard has my laptop, and then he's like, oh, no, wait, I left Katrina in my laptop.
Yeah, it's so funny. He's yelling, running out of the room, I left Katrina in my laptop. And Eugene presumably breaks down the door. I don't know. He like busts into Wit's End looking for the laptop.
Yep. And he starts to talk to Connie, and Connie's like, well, the computer's upstairs, and he's like, yeah, but she hands him the laptop, and he's like, yeah, the disk's not here, and Connie he's like, did you look at this, Connie? And she's like, no, I would never. And he's like, really?
No.
That's right. She says, Eugene, do you really think I would do something like that?
Yeah.
And he says, in a heartbeat.
Yeah, which is true. And also, I see myself in Connie so much.
Really?
Oh, I am such a snoop. And it's not because, like, I want to judge them or anything. It's just the most morbid of curiosity. Like, I just...
Interesting.
All
right.
I like to poke around.
Well, check me not leaving my phone unattended with Andrew.
No.
I recently
with phones I only look through photos.
Yeah, there's never been anything incriminating in photos.
No. But if it's there, it's on them. That's their fault. You gotta hide that shit better.
I recently had to remove the passcode to my journal app for unspecified reasons that I don't need to get into, but the password had to come off of the app, which now means that, like, if you get into my phone, you now have access to my journal.
Woof.
For, like, this is year 9.
Wow.
So you get to see some
serious growth.
Yeah.
That arc is nutty.
Yeah, truly.
Let's do the Dylan podcast where we just go back through and track here.
Look, if I die, you can have my thing and then do a podcast going through my journal. Sure.
Okay, cool. Am I allowed to make money off of it?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay. I'll give it to charity.
Yeah, if there's money to be made, go for it, man. I'm dead. What do I care? I want you to do well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
If I die first, please don't do anything to my body.
Just leave it there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to decompose.
Yeah, but you can decompose outside. No? No. I'm just going to die in your bed and then just going to leave you there in your bed?
Or you could throw out the bed. I mean, actually, I would prefer if you throw out the bed. If I died on it, I don't want anybody else getting that juju.
Okay.
This is... Oh, God.
This is Deathcast with Dylan and Andrew. The cast where we talk about death and other fun stuff. So this is, just great then. Connie calls Bernard, so she gets to be the person to deliver the news.
Yeah.
And it's just, this is like, I don't know, one of my favorite exchanges that we've ever talked about.
So good.
It's fantastic.
You're going to laugh about this later. Does that mean I'm going to cry about it now?
Will Ryan, Katie Lee, just the best.
Oh my gosh.
It's so good. There's... Just listen to the back and forth. It rocks. We don't need to like give you the replay. But there's a point at which Connie tells Eugene his eye is twitching, which is a classic line. And then she's like, well, he handled that better. That he leaves. And she's like, he handled that better than I thought he did. And then he just screams from outside of Wits End. And it's beautiful. I love it so much.
It's, like, that's such a Eugene thing, though. Like, the muffled Eugene scream in the distance.
Yep.
I love that bit.
And then keeping in the thread of accurate predictions, I did then write, he's going to spill everything, and she hasn't even looked at the disc yet.
Yep.
Because I've seen sitcoms.
And hey, guess what? That's exactly what happens.
Yeah. She's making mac and cheese, though, when he shows up.
And she keeps offering it to him, and he says no.
Which there's also, there's a cute thing with Connie and Mitch in mac and cheese.
Oh, yes, yeah. And hot dogs, I think, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. You're not going to run out of hot dogs or boxed mac and cheese anytime soon.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
And to an earlier point that may have gotten cut about my milk consumption, I have boxes of mac and cheese in my cupboard that I never make because I would have to have milk on hand to make them.
Another reason to have milk, Dylan.
But Andrew, if I go and I buy a quart of milk to use like half a cup to make mac and cheese, then I have another, then I have to use the rest of the thing. Even if I use a cup for mac and cheese, then I still have 3 cups of milk that I've got to find a use for. What am I supposed to do with 3 cups of milk?
I mean, I can think of...
It only keeps for a week.
It keeps for more than a week. Like a week and a half.
Okay.
I give it 10 days. I'm a 10-day guy.
Okay. So it only keeps for 10 days.
Yeah, that's fair. And I understand if you don't cook that much and you don't eat cereal because you don't eat breakfast, the best meal of the day.
And the most skippable.
Yeah, it is the most skippable, but it is the most delicious.
I think my life is better for not eating breakfast.
But actually, I can see your argument here, and I'm not going to entertain it any longer because I'm afraid you're going to win me over, and I can't lose breakfast, Dylan.
No. I mean, everyone do you. I'm not out here preaching the gospel of no breakfast. I don't feel any regret over cutting that out of my life.
I feel like lunch is the most skippable meal for me.
Right. Maybe breakfast is just, it's at an inconvenient time. Lunch, you get a lunch break. Breakfast, you have to wake up earlier.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, but I always wake up starving, so like...
Oh, no, not me.
Yeah, I don't think I've woken up...
On the rare occasions that I am hungry for breakfast, or like I am hungry in the morning, which every once in a while it happens, I keep Pop-Tarts on hand. Keep a box of Pop-Tarts, and I'm like, I'll use them over the course of, 4 months. I'll probably go through a box of Pop-Tarts, and
I will go through a box of Pop-Tarts before we record a podcast next.
Okay.
Probably.
Wow.
No, that's not true.
You're a big Pop-Tart guy. What kind of Pop-Tart are you?
Well, and this is a point of hot contention because Alyssa is really only a brown sugar cinnamon gal. I know.
I'm so sad that she's wrong.
And the thing is, it's the only one that she likes. Like, she doesn't really like any of the other ones.
That's
I'm a strawberry guy. Strawberry all the way.
Andrew.
Strawberry all the way.
We should host a podcast.
It's the best one. That sounds incredible. Very financially irresponsible, but what if we just record ourselves while we eat Pop-Tarts? Somebody will be interested.
Talk about pop culture and Pop-Tarts every week.
Oh, I love that. And then we could do side bits with, like, off-brand Pop-Tarts and, like, comparing them.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, all the limited edition ones. Have you ever had the Eggo Pop-Tarts? Surprisingly decent. They are yellow. Which is weird, but they have kind of like a syrupy filling.
Yeah.
I think the best of the like non-standard one-offy kind of Pop-Tarts, the cinnamon roll ones.
Oh my gosh, yeah. The cinnamon roll Pop-Tarts.
The cinnamon roll Pop-Tarts are what brown sugar wants to be.
Yeah, but they just can't make it in mass quantity like that. They can't love us that way.
No, they can't.
Only a cinnamon roll can.
Amen.
Another thing that you use milk for, Dylan, making cinnamon rolls.
Buddy, you realize if I make a pan of cinnamon rolls, I then personally have to eat every one of those cinnamon rolls.
Or you can give one to Kyle.
But I'm just like, that is such a burden. Like, no.
You say burden, I say delightful week.
No. No, I don't go to the gym. I can't be like filling myself up on cinnamon rolls every morning.
Well, if I had 7 cinnamon rolls sitting out, I would eat one every morning. I'd probably eat 2 in one morning and it wouldn't last me the whole week.
Yeah. Every once in a while, one of my coworkers will pick up Achenbach's Long Johns for breakfast.
Yeah.
Bring them into work, and I will. They always get so many, and I will every time eat at least 3 peanut butter Long Johns.
Wow.
That is the closest thing I ever come.
I love that for you though. That's adorable.
Because the thing is, they will get like
a ton,
a dozen and a half peanut butter, and then like a dozen chocolate or whatever. Peanut butter are obviously the best.
Do they get the vanilla ones?
Not usually. Sometimes.
Vanilla is my favorite.
Oh, thumbs down. Peanut butter for life.
No,
man.
peanut butter is great. Like, I love
Chalk
it.
Squad, do you guys know what a Long John is? It's like it's a long yeast donut with icing on it that rocks.
So it's not a yeast donut.
Really?
No, it's a lard donut.
Oh.
That's why it's so good. It's not lard, it's shortening.
Okay.
Because there's shortening in the icing and then there's shortening in the donut.
Okay.
And that's how it gets like the big air pockets in the middle that you see. But it's really, they're really good. It's the Long Johns by Achenbach's. Yeah, they're super rich because of all the shortening in them, and they're stupid sweet. Like, it's pretty much just shortening and powdered sugar and vanilla extract, I'm pretty sure. But they're phenomenal. And if you are ever anywhere near an Achenbach's or any place that sells Achenbach's, please do yourself a favor and get a peanut butter Long John. Unless you're allergic to peanut butter, then I recommend vanilla.
Yeah, I also recommend vanilla. Artificial chocolate flavoring is gross.
It is.
But the peanut butter ones are incredible, and I will. Yeah, that is like there will be a ton at work. And I will always get one to start off the day, one like an hour later, and then some point later in the day I will walk by and there will still be one there, and I will get it because a day-old Long John is a very sad thing.
No, I like them. They're nice. I honestly, I might like them more than the fresh ones. Not to say that they're better, but they hold such a special place in my heart, Dylan. I got free day-old Long Johns. I got as many as I wanted. And you get that. It's a little stale, and you have a nice latte or something. You could dunk if you please. Yeah. It's like a diabetic's breadstick. I think that's just normal breadsticks. Oh man.
So Yeah, so Eugene is over there and
spills the tea.
Yeah, he just like rambles for a while, talks about this being a crush, doesn't let her talk at all, and then is like, I would like to remain friends, no more, no less. And they shake on it.
Yeah. And Katrina replies like, "Oh, like, well, I didn't read it," and
right. Yeah.
She's very taken aback by all of this. Like, excellent job voice acting.
Yeah.
Like, she sounds completely caught off guard by I won't necessarily even say caught off guard. She sounds upset. Like, she sounds shocked and upset that like. Yeah. He's being so firm in shutting the romantic side of their friendship down.
Right, because neither of them had ever put words to it.
Exactly.
And clearly she was invested and expecting it to amount to something, and she hadn't. Her becoming a Christian didn't close that door for her in the way that he believes that it did. Yeah. And so, yeah. It's just a brutal scene. She gets to do after they shake, she does the Eugene, your eye is twitching thing, harkening back to Connie's line earlier, and he says calcium deficiency, which was, according to the official guide, an in-studio ad-lib by Will Ryan.
I love that. Is that really a thing that could make your eye twitch?
Probably not, but it sounds great. Like, it works.
It's a hilarious bit, and like it makes perfect sense for that to be the scientific explanation for whatever is happening. Yeah. So then the episode ends with Eugene and Katrina.
Just a beautifully directed scene.
Yeah.
I love it.
Concurrently is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, concurrently.
Writing about each other and their feelings, and Eugene's writing to himself and Katrina's writing to her parents.
Yeah, where she says in this
Armitage Shanks.
Yeah. The toilet man himself. And she says that
that's a 4-year-old Dylan.
Look, yeah, but also it's literally a toilet company, Armitage Shanks. I know. I feel like that's not a joke to my own show. That's a joke to the world at large.
That's fair.
But yeah, it is wild covering. Yeah, we're talking about Armitage all these years later. I saved the world.
Boy.
Although that's Arthur Dent. But whatever. Doesn't matter. Here's the deal. So she's like that I wrote to you previously about Eugene and how like I thought that there might be something there.
Well, she says that, didn't she say that she thought she might be falling in love with him?
She does.
Yeah.
She says specifically that she had written before to say that she might be falling in love. That he came to her today and clearly does not want that anymore and is just cutting back between the both of them and just bumming everyone out so much because here are two people
that are clearly in love.
Right, who genuinely, like, there is something there. There is a relationship that both of them want. Mm-hmm. And both of them, like, it is like, it's very like Romeo and Juliet, like classic, like star-crossed lovers. Like, it, rather than them killing themselves.
Yeah.
Like, but we have a similar thing here where it's like Eugene believes that she has rejected him.
Yeah.
So he rejects her.
Yeah, it's just like the love is just not quite in reach.
For
like one person at any given time, where it's like either Eugene's not communicating or he is and he's in his head too much. And it's brutal, and I love the episode for ending on it.
Yeah, and she says during her conversation with Eugene earlier that she really respects his communication, the fact that he was like willing to articulate this stuff, but you can tell that she is disappointed that he is saying like, well, we can only be friends.
Yeah.
And that's all him just overcompensating for the fact that he feels insecure about their relationship and that he thinks that she will reject him. And so he is like, well, let me make sure that I
can't get rejected if I'm not vulnerable.
Right, like let me close myself off so that when that rejection comes, it will not come as hard. She probably feels as though I've thrust myself upon her, and so I'm just going to cut things off and say, no, that's not the case. Everything is platonic between us. I never had any intentions beyond that, or if I did, I have now seen the error in my ways, and I'm like done with that. Like, we're not going to pursue that anymore because I can tell that it's not something you want. And if it's not something you want, then it's not something I want. And, like, I'd rather preserve our friendship than, like, rather than pine after you unreciprocated.
And that's such a thing, though, where when you are so invested in somebody that you do kind of recoil and shut it down like that, so that you are just kind of insulated from any decisions that they can make. And it's also you get so afraid of rejection, meaning that you're going to lose them forever.
Correct.
That you don't ever say anything, or you lie to them about how you actually feel.
Yeah. Better to be friends forever than to, like, express romantic interest, have that rejected, and then no longer be friends with them at all.
Well, and that's
a thing that I have never done in my own life, and we don't have guests who've been on this podcast who could attest to either side of that. Not at all. This is very much a Eugene thing and not a Dylan thing.
No, I've never seen it. Not once. But there's hope for Eugene.
Not for Dylan, but
not
for
Eugene.
Dylan. And
actually, there's considering Will Ryan being dead, there's a lot more hope for Dylan than there is for Eugene.
But Eugene did it. He already
that's true.
He marries her.
Yeah, no.
Spoiler alert.
He finished the marathon.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it ends on the two of them saying in unison to their own respective journals, "What a bittersweet day. Today I discovered love and heartbreak."
Cliche, but love it. I mean,
it's good.
I love that Odyssey is doing this. I love that it's like
We're doing good stuff here.
Miles from, Connie Part 1, Connie 2. Like,
right, we are so far like off the beat of a show that is about like I do kind of wonder if the writers at this point in the show, I assume, are well enough established they don't have as much oversight from Focus. Like, it doesn't feel like we're getting like the Focus on the Family dictated episodes that we got early on in the show.
Oh yeah,
they've had so long to grow with these characters, but also with these actors. And I think this does genuinely feel like a season of time where they are more excited about the stories they can write than they are concerned about the message they are conveying.
Yeah.
And so it just feels
like
a natural outpouring of, we like working with these people and the characters and this world we've built, and like we have a storyline here, and we're not going to get in trouble for doing it. So let's just do it, whether or not like it has like an immediately apparent point.
Well, and at this point, they've already pulled episodes, so, like, what are they gonna do? Like, have to not release it, pull it from the air? They've done that plenty of times.
Yeah, and it's not to say, like, and it helps that this is not the show's only focus during this time. They've got a ton of other episodes that they're doing that are all the normal stuff that we would expect.
Yeah.
But they are focused in on these ones. Well, they're focused in these ones on something entirely different that doesn't have. There is no real place for this in the show as it was pitched in 1987.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah,
this episode just feels like it's a pure product of the collaboration between all these people being so good
for so long.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
So, yeah.
What'd you think about the episode? I mean, it sounds like you loved it.
I liked it so much, man. It's
Part
good.
1 was great. Yeah. I mean, it began with a rabbit's foot, I guess. Was great. And as Hal Smith's last episode, like,
unbelievable.
It was fantastic. I don't think it could have been better. Yeah. And this one, considering the circumstances, I feel like they did such a good job.
Yeah, I'm amazed the degree to which this episode works.
And how much I like it, just like as a piece of art and not just...
Yeah. Well, because it does, right. It once again feels like, aside from the line of Katrina has become a Christian.
Yeah.
That's
no
not
God.
even a thing. It's not something she mentions in her letter to her parents.
Yeah.
She is talking... And maybe she would go on to mention it. Yeah. But the part that we hear of her letter to her parents is her relationship with Eugene. It's not I just became a Christian or I just got a job at Holstein's.
No, yeah.
Like, this episode cares so little about the faith side of things. And it is kind of amazing as a result.
It's stupendous.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this podcast with me,
dude.
Dylan.
Absolutely. Thank you for doing it with me, and thank you, listeners, for listening. That's the thing that listeners do. I don't know if you knew that. And speaking of our lovely listeners, we do have a new review on Apple Podcasts. So as always, you can leave us reviews on Apple Podcasts. If the review is 5 stars, we will happily read it here on the podcast. Also, if you leave it on Apple Podcasts in another country or on another service, just shoot us an email. Let us know where the review is, because we still want to read those. Thank you for doing it. And also, I guess you can leave ratings on Spotify, which cool. You can also leave specific episode feedback on Spotify now.
Interesting.
Which is a thing. So you can, on any episode that's posted, there's a comment section essentially, and they are not public comments. They just come straight to Andrew and I, and then we have the choice to make them public.
Interesting.
So if that is a thing that you feel like doing at any point,
that's accessible.
That is another way to provide feedback to the show. But I would say the preferred way is still email us. wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. But this is a review from user Podcasts Not Quarantined that just says, great podcast. I have been slowly catching up on old episodes, having recently discovered this podcast. I'm enjoying all the random Gilmore Girl references too. I am over the moon about the newest arc. The Eugene Bernard road trip were my favorite episodes ever, and I can't wait to see how they and the search for wit hold up.
Aww. What a guy. Or girl. Or person.
Yeah, guy's gender neutral. We decided that earlier.
Oh, that's true. What a guy.
That's established within the canon of our show.
Yep.
So yeah. Thank you. Podcast
that was
Not
so
Quarantined.
Nice.
And we are excited for it as well, which brings up that we will be back next week to talk about the first episode of the Eugene and Bernard road trip. It is First-Hand Experience, episode 274.
Yay!
Bye, guys.
Bye!
Wadfam Chalk Pod is a presentation of the Lidditz Podcast Co-op. This show is a fan podcast and has no official affiliation with Adventures in Odyssey or Focus on the Family. As such, the copyright is ours under Creative Commons. Follow the podcast at WadFamChalkPod on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. It ended with a handshake that was hosted by Dylan Weaver and Andrew Acebo, and edited by Dylan Weaver. And I'm Nathan Haverstick, hoping you'll join us again next time for more of the Wadfam Chalk Pod.